Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Thursday. Glad you're here. Today's Red Mic message: the things that stay. Yesterday morning, the news was talking about back to school. Nothing particularly profound. Kids are heading back, teachers are getting classrooms ready, parents are buying school supplies, another school year is beginning. It brought back some good old memories and some sad newer ones for me. Because going back to school in my old hometown, Wichita Falls, well, it hasn't looked quite the same for a few years now. I graduated from Wichita Falls High School, Old High, the high school. For generations of kids in Wichita Falls, it wasn't just where we went to school, it was a landmark by which we measured our lives. We knew those hallways. We knew where our friends would be between classes, which teachers you hoped to get, which ones you hoped you didn't. Some of us knew the choir room. Everybody knew the cafeteria, the gym, the parking lot, and 100 other places that would mean absolutely nothing to anybody else, but somehow became part of you. And then there was football. In Wichita Falls, back to school meant football season was not far behind. In fact, this time of year, we were in the middle of two-a-days. Friday nights after school started meant stadium lights. That meant marching bands and fight songs and cheerleaders and players running onto the field, absolutely convinced that whatever happened over the next few hours was the most important thing happening anywhere in the world. And at 17, maybe it was. Now, Old High had been there since 1891. Think about that. Generations had walked those halls. They graduated, went to work, raised families, went to war, came home, built businesses, coached teams, and eventually sent their own kids through many of those same doors. Then Wichita Falls consolidated its high schools. Old High closed, so did Ryder and Hershey. New schools opened, and a new generation began building traditions of its own. And that's how communities work. They change, sometimes because they want to, sometimes because they have to. But knowing that doesn't mean you can't grieve what was lost. There's a strange kind of sadness that comes with realizing a place that helped make you who you are no longer exists in the way that you remember it. And I think there's a leadership lesson buried in all of that, because we spend a lot of our times building things we know that won't last forever. Organizations change, teams break up, people retire, buildings get torn down, programs end, and jobs we once thought defined us eventually belong to someone else. Now, if your definition of legacy is having your name permanently attached to something, you're probably going to be disappointed, because very little is permanent. But influence can be. It's in something they learned from you. It's in confidence you gave somebody who didn't have it before. It's in a standard they still hold themselves to. It's in a way that they lead somebody else years later without even realizing that they're repeating something that you taught them. That's true for teachers, it's true for coaches, it's true for parents, and it's certainly true for leaders of every stripe. The goal was never to make sure the building stayed standing forever. The goal was to make sure that something worth carrying walked out through the door. And maybe that's why that back to school piece caught me the way it did, because football is still being played in Wichita Falls. The stadium lights are still going to come on. Bands will still play. Kids are still going to run onto the field believing that Friday is the most important thing ever. Maybe that's the way it should be. Some of the names on those jerseys are long gone now. Old High is gone. Wichita Falls High School isn't, though. Not really. There are thousands of us walking around carrying little pieces of it. And every now and then, something as simple as a news piece about kids going back to school brings it all back, rushing in hard. And for a moment, the hallways aren't gone, the choir room isn't gone, the stadium lights are still on. We're 17 again. We can hear Van Halen playing in the background. Buildings are temporary, titles are temporary, institutions change. But if you're part of something that lasts, even if it's only in somebody's memory, if someone is stronger, more confident, more disciplined, or better prepared because you were there, then definitely a piece of what you built is still standing. And maybe that's what legacy really is. And that's today's Red Mic message. Hope you found it interesting or helpful. I hope you're able to use some of these things in place in your own life. I'd appreciate a like, a follow, and a share. Thank you for being here. By the way, shout out to one of my former players, Dakota Roel. My wife and I saw him last night along with his family celebrating his older brother's birthday. Dakota, I'm telling you, pound for pound, the toughest, most fearless kid I ever coached. If his heart was as big as his body, he'd be playing in the NFL right now. Oh, man. That's another thing. Those kind of memories, they're worth every minute you spent building them. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow. Hashtag Fun Friday. I'm going to talk about gold. Maybe not the gold you're thinking of, though, but you'll have to join me tomorrow to figure that out. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. And as always, don't forget, life is short. Drink the bourbon.